War Eagle Auburn family, welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we sit down, we get together, and we talk about what's going on in the world of the Auburn family spectrum. We're always heavy on the sports here on this channel, but if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. Thank you for joining us, whether you're watching live or on the replay. We appreciate you hanging out with us just for even a small amount of time to talk about something within the Auburn family spectrum. On this live stream, we are going to now be doing something that you guys requested for. A lot of you were asking during basketball season, were we going to talk about baseball? Well, here we are. Because you asked for it, we're going to give it a shot. We also asked you what night you'd like to do it. Monday night seemed to be the consensus. So if you guys ask for it and you show up for it, we'll do it. So this is the first of what we hope will be a regular baseball show, potentially on Monday nights. Stay tuned for that because we want to make sure that we do things as it grows and as the audience demands it. Still obviously playing around with the setup a little bit too. You guys who were here on the last live stream knew that was the case. So if I look like I'm looking different ways and all that kind of stuff, just bear with me because I'm getting used to different setups and things like that. Anyway, before we get started, though, with Auburn baseball, the things that you can do for me right now, if you are watching live or on the replay, make sure you smash that like button if you enjoyed this type of content. And if you want to take part in tonight, go ahead and right now post in the comment section whether you're watching on here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, where you're watching from, city, state, international with a War Eagle. Want to know who's hanging out with us tonight to talk about some Auburn baseball. We can even talk a little bit about Auburn softball too, if you want. It can be like the Diamond Sports show if we want to kind of encompass all that together. But that's what we're really prepared to talk about tonight is Auburn baseball, or at least I am. And I want to hear from all of y'all tonight. So do all those things for me. Post where you're watching from. Hit the like button. And we will get started with some, some of your comments and questions tonight about Auburn baseball specifically. I am going to have to change trying to get used to my questions and comments section being over here now. It's going to take a little bit getting used to because a little different than I normally set up over here tonight. Let's see. We got Devin already checking in saying, War Eagle from Texas. This is my first season watching and listening to Auburn baseball, and it has been fun. Devin, I will tell you this, that while I've always been Auburn football first, basketball second, baseball third in that order, it's always been something that I love the game of baseball. It is not for everybody because it is a slower natured game, but I like games where there's a chess match built into an athletic event. And that is very much the case with baseball. It is a chess match with very athletic people. And that's what you find yourself in situations a lot during baseball games. Also want to give you guys a reminder tonight, those of you that are part of our booster club, you have access to call into the show. And I just realized if we have people call in, I'm going to have to switch we're going to do a little switching thing on the fly, actually. I'm going to bring this down here on this screen so you'll see me looking down a lot. So if that gets a little confusing, I'm sorry, but we're trying to try new things out on the fly here on a brand new show, which is always a great way to do things. But yes, I was setting that up, Devin, to say this, that with the pandemic shutting down that baseball season and kind of getting back into things last season, I kind of have fallen off myself in my baseball repertoire and in terms of for Auburn baseball, keeping up with it. And so this is going to be like my coming back to where I should be for Auburn baseball coverage and things like that. So that's why I was kind of, open to doing this show if people want it. So that's why we're doing this here. So we'll have fun talking about it and learning more about it together. Obviously, I know a lot about it, but, we'll keep doing it. If you guys, he says, really like a baseball show. There you go. So there's somebody who likes it already. Bill checking in from Huntsville. Thanks for checking in, sir. Dusty checking in from Pensacola. By the way, Dusty, I had heard that are y'all having some like wildfires down there in the Panhandle? If that's the case, let me know. I was a little scary sounding that I heard a little news report about that. Hope you're staying safe down there if that's the case. Everybody in the Southeast staying. Was that a light that just went off? Hopefully staying safe tonight with some of the weather that's been rolling through here as of late. We are getting into April and March, which, speaking of like tying that into baseball, I think that's one of the more frustrating things about baseball games for me is there's so many of them, whether it's college or whether it is major league. They're all outside unless you're, a wealthy baseball team with an indoor stadium. Then there's so many that can get canceled. And it's kind of like you get your hopes up for it so much, and then all of a sudden, there it is getting canceled. And I think that's one of the frustrations for baseball. All right, more on this week. So if we continue to do this on a regular basis, if people like this kind of show, the way I'd like to structure it and kind of set things up is we talk about it in what's happened in the previous series, mainly that for this show being Rhode Island, which was a 4-game, which is kind of unusual, 4-game setup on a series on the weekend with them, and we swept them. Not just swept them, dominated them. Literally, I think the only opportunity that Rhode Island had was the game that I attended this weekend, and that was the only time that they really thought they were going to have an opportunity to win a game, which was interesting to see. So the Tigers are 11-2 as of this series. Now they'll have some midweek games here, and then a next series this next weekend. So obviously things will probably change, hopefully all in the benefit for Auburn. But right now, 11-2 on the year. They dropped one in that first game of the year, and then I believe it was one of the series they dropped a game as well. So already off to a pretty good start so far. That's a little in the order for me too. I have never had access to college sports besides football and basketball. Now that I have all the channels, I'm getting into Auburn athletics, and it's great. There you go. Now you have us as well. So we're here to give you a little bit of extra coverage on Auburn baseball and potentially softball as well. If you guys have thoughts and questions about that, we can definitely discuss that a little bit. Let's see here. Dusty says he's fine. However, the fires are out in Linda's way in Panama City. I forgot Linda was down there. So hopefully everybody is staying safe in the Panhandle. Gets a little treacherous, this time of year when there's not been a ton of rain. Everything's dry. You get a little bit of a storm come through with a lightning bolt, could spark flames, and then other means as well. Anyway, enough of the morbid discussion. Hopefully everybody stays safe there. This series, let me just tell you about this. So I went to a game this weekend, the first game of this series, and it was nice to actually sit back down in that stadium. Auburn has a really great ballpark. If you know a lot about Major League Baseball, it's kind of a conglomeration of a lot of different ballparks. For instance, Fenway Park has what's called the Big Green Monster, which is like a wall that's you have to hit it over because it's so far pushed in. Similar thing for Auburn, not as high, I believe, but functions the same way in left field, just like it would be in Fenway Park for the Boston Red Sox. Oops, excuse me, I just knocked the microphone a little bit and the camera. See, I told you we're messing around with equipment. Everything changes a little bit. But yes, we have those similarities with some of those. I just loved being back in there, smelling the smell, seeing the sights. Baseball is just a game that you can take in and just kind of sit there and enjoy what's going on, but taking the sights and sounds of what's going on around you. Wes says, I have a friend who plays for URI, I guess Rhode Island, University of Rhode Island. How's he feeling, Wes, after did you talk to him after this series? Because they got their butts whooped. I'll be honest with you, when I was sitting at game 1 and they went up 2-0, I believe is what it was, or 1-0, one of the two. I was like, ooh, I could be in for a little bit of a game there. And then slowly but surely, Auburn kind of got its offense kicking in gear. Its pitching settled down from that. It wasn't so much a rough start. It just wasn't an ideal start. And then from then point, I was just kind of like chip, 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 chip. And then when Sonny DeShera knocks in his, I think it was a 3-run homer at the time, it was over at that point. There was no hope for Rhode Island because they just weren't able to get any other offense going. Having no reference for how Auburn baseball has been in the past, our offense has been pretty stellar after those first few games. Well, let me set the table for you a little bit, Devin, since you're bringing that up. Typically in non-conference play, you play at least, and this is just, again, there's probably going to be baseball aficionados that disagree with me on this, but you typically play at least 1, maybe 2 really tough series in non-conference play, but the rest are kind of like they are in basketball, where you play more or less a bunch of games, a bunch of non-conference opponents that you should beat. It's to get you tuned up, to get you ready for the season. So it's not unheard of for Auburn to be doing this well in the early part of the season. Now, what's been in my past of following Auburn baseball, they have struggled a lot with non-conference opponents in midweek games, which they do even during conference play. And so far, they've been pretty good with that. So that is one area where they have improved, at least so far this season, and are doing a good job of that. There's a lot of people starting to say, hey, this could be the year for Auburn baseball. I don't know about that, but, of course, we were a little skeptical maybe at the beginning of the basketball season with some of the struggles we saw early, but things have certainly changed now. Let's see. Wes says, talking about his friend from Rhode Island, they have a rough schedule so far. They have Tennessee this weekend. Jeez. That is not good. And see, that's the tough thing about for these non-conference opponents. They it's just like in football. They get used for tune-up games and things like that. And so they really don't have an off weekend or an easy time during non-conference play. The upper tier teams, the bigger programs tend to have more easier times in their schedule, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So 11-2 record for Auburn. So they, not just this, let's set this up. And when I talk about, if we do continue these, the things that I would like to discuss, we talk a little bit about the midweek games too. They had 2 of those this week, one against Alabama State and one against UAB. The tougher one was against Alabama State, and they got a pretty convincing win over UAB. So they swept 6 games in 6 days. Now, that wasn't 6 days each game, each one had a game. It was simply 6 days spread out there, 6 games, because we had a doubleheader on Saturday. But that's an impressive week when you get 6 wins in 6 days. That's a busy week. That's a tiring week. And it can be very, interesting when you try to decide which pitchers you're going to use in what situations. They did a good job of, I think, managing that. The staff did. And for those who have forgotten, Tim Hudson is on staff here as a volunteer assistant. It's pretty good pedigree of, Auburn baseball legend and major league legend to have on staff for that area. Was playing Fight Simmer decide to fly over Auburn? Best game of all time. Jordan Hare and Neville Arena looked amazing. Well, thanks for sharing that. Auburn looks amazing no matter when you see it and how you see it, even if it's virtually, right? Devin says Auburn has allowed 25 runs in its first 13 games, marking the fewest runs allowed in the first 13 games of the season since 1940. Did you get that from the website? I got it from Twitter. I just saw that one there. There are a lot of stats. Usually the SIDs will do a really good write-up on not just the results of the game, but some significant trends or things like that. And so there is a little bit of historicness to the start that Auburn has had. What I would caution everybody on is the SEC, as it is in everything, basketball, football, gymnastics, equestrian, everything. It's just the toughest conference to play in college athletics. So be prepared for when you hit that conference play, not too far off. Things will get a little bit more challenging. To add on to what Devin already has said, for these games, for the, not just I'm going to talk about the series for Rhode Island. Auburn won by a total out of the 4 games of 49-3. They scored 49 runs, and they only scored 3 out of all those 4 games combined together. The 2 midweekend games for Saturday, the doubleheader, no scoring for them whatsoever. They scored 2 runs at the game that I intended, so apparently I'm bad luck, and then 1 on Sunday. That is all they were able to do on that. My dad just said, wait till they start playing conference games. I 100% agree with your dad. It's one of those things that it doesn't matter what the sport is. You really don't want to get too overly down or excited until you really start seeing what happens in conference play. If you compete, whatever sport it is, in a solid conference, and Auburn does that Southeastern Conference teams do that. Wes says, this is my first year watching college baseball since the MLB is in lockout. How should I go about choosing a team to root for? Now, Wes, are you an Auburn fan? If you're not an Auburn fan, well, I mean, you need to be an Auburn fan. You said you had a buddy that was in Rhode Island. Well, I mean, you got some connections to Rhode Island. I could understand you selecting that. Here's my best advice. If you're not an Auburn fan, you're asking for who to follow. You can't go wrong with the SEC and the SEC West. Now it's a little bit different setup for that. There's not necessarily divisions and things like that with baseball, but I would say that you can't go wrong with that. Arkansas is a good team, but my counter to you would be, don't focus so much on trying to find the team that's hot right now. Find one that you can really latch onto. If that's Auburn, great. I encourage you to. We're an awesome bunch of people. We are a little weird. We're a little fanatical at times. For some reason, we got on this meme kick for basketball. Who knows what's going to happen for baseball? So that's how I would go about it. Find one that you connect with and follow them. Hopefully it's Auburn if you're not an Auburn fan. But Arkansas is a good one. Mississippi State's a good program. Alabama every once in a while, but I can't remember if they're expected to do anything this year. LSU, Texas A&M's usually pretty good. Usually a lot of southern, southwestern teams, Texas area. These Oklahoma, they tend to be pretty good as well. Just some teams to keep in mind. Is football the only sport in the SEC that has East-West divisions? Now, we used to do it in basketball. Now, that's a question I probably spoke a little too soon. I'm sure there are divisions other places. That was mainly meant for the SEC championship game, and that's why you have that for football, and that's why you have that structure there. You send your best from each one to the game. Basketball, it's not really necessary, right? Because everybody goes to the tournament unless they're suspended or something, and everybody just plays for it. Similar thing with baseball. I don't think everybody gets to go in baseball, if I'm correct. I think it's the bottom two teams get dropped. But if you make it there, it's just a free for all. Gymnastics, same thing. Trying to think, softball, same thing. Soccer, same thing. Yeah, so it may be just football that we're talking about. So great question. No really divisions to worry about there. All right, more numbers to talk about from this series, the Rhode Island series. 46 strikeouts in 34 innings for Auburn pitchers and only 17 hits with 3 runs allowed. That's pretty dang good. They got into a little bit of trouble in the game I attended, the first game with Rhode Island. I shouldn't say trouble. Not the best start. They allowed a couple of runs early, a couple of walks, bases loaded. We got out of a couple of jams. But the great thing is it seems like our middle relievers, what a middle reliever is someone that comes in the middle. You have a starting pitcher, sometimes, a lot of times the closer, those people that in the middle, they're called middle reliever pitchers. So they come in and kind of finish out a job if a pitcher's tired, not doing well. And so that's what happened. Carson Skipper, who's been with the program for a while, I got to see on that game, had an outstanding middle relief with a lot. I think it was like 6 innings or something like that he did really, really well in. So I was happy I got to see that actually in person. So that's a bit from the game that I saw. Russell, good to see you. We're going to the E2C homies from the home of Bo Jackson. Bessemer? I'm pretty sure it's Bessemer. I do watch College World Series, so I actually have seen some Auburn games. Very fun team to watch. Stanford, Mississippi State were good too. Yes, 100% on Mississippi State. Now, Butch Thompson, is a former assistant coach at Mississippi State, and there were a lot of people when the former head coach left thought they would come get him from us. Thankfully, he stayed. Thankfully. You've got people encouraging you, Wes, to join in on the fun that is being an Auburn Tiger. Yeah, listen, I don't know that the MLB is going to stay locked out completely, but they are already missing a few games because of that situation. So now's a good time to invest in college baseball, especially Auburn baseball. I'm not saying that Auburn's going to take it all the way this year, but they are off to a really great start, and you can't really deny that. Oh, Dustin, I just saw you down here. What's up, Dusty? How you doing, man? Sunny DeShera.
It's beautiful.
How long were you waiting there in the room, buddy?
About a minute or two.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
You're a little low, but we can hear you. You just have to talk louder. Pull your mic down on your headset. You might have it backwards. You gotta love technology. It sometimes is a little bit. It's fine. It's not great.
I got you. Yeah,
hey, come a little closer to the mic. Whatever you were.
You good?
That's a little louder, so that's pretty good there.
Okay. Yeah, my cell phone's updating, so
that's fine, man. How you doing, buddy?
I'm great, man. I'm happy about the start. I mean, I know that Rhode Island's not all that, but you got to be who you play.
Exactly. You can't help who you're on your schedule. You just got to take care of them when you're on your schedule. So let's talk about what you did and why everybody's confused. What was Kyle and and Dustin doing there at the start of that? Sonny DeShera, every team seems like they've got that one guy, whether he's your best hitter, your best pitcher, but the one that everybody latches around. So Casey Mize was the great pitcher who went #1 overall a couple of seasons ago. It seems like Sonny DeShera is going to be that this season. Apparently he's Italian. For some reason, his walk-up song for baseball is, I forget what the name of the song is, but everybody called it the Pizza Guy song, and everybody does the little Italian thing when he walks up. It is my new favorite Auburn thing. How awesome is it?
No, it's pretty cool to see the stadium and everybody's clapping, and it's fun.
It's hilarious. It is absolutely hilarious. When it first happened, Dustin, when I was in the stadium, I was like, what is going on here? Like, first of all, what is this choice? I've heard some weird walk-up songs before, but I've never heard the Italian little stereotypical song that's always played. And so then I started thinking, well, DeShera does sound like a little bit of an Italian name. And then I saw everybody get into it. I was like, oh, so this is a thing.
Yeah, it's funny because I know that you had posted in the Lens in the Patreon app that you were going to be going to the baseball game, and that midweek game it was the first time I've seen that watching the game.
Right.
And then I want to say during the game you posted on the app that you were going, or maybe the next day, but I thought of you. I was like, Kyle's gonna like that.
Oh man, I love the heck out of it. The first time, like I said, it was like, this is weird. But then as it started happening, and then of course he hit like a 3-run shot in that game. So okay, I'm on board.
That's the part. He's stroking it. So
you've got the gimmick with him, but then you've got the talent behind him too. And I caught that home run live. Like I had my camera up, and I think I put it up on Twitter. And I think his former minor league or regional team that he used to play for, like picked it up and used it too. It was crazy. Like I was like, I did not know. I know he was here last year, but like I didn't realize the hype that was around Sonny DeShera, and I love every minute of it now.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It seems like Butch is kind of figuring out a rotation, and that's kind of the important thing right now, right? In these non-conference games is to get the staff kind of established, who's the roles established in the bullpen, who's gonna be doing what. I know that we got the kid in the transfer portal from Notre Dame. I'm still learning names, like everybody's talked about. I'm kind of getting back into it.
Yep.
But baseball was my first love at Auburn. My first ever trip to Auburn was a baseball game. So I've got connections there, kind of. So it's just I love it. But the kid from Notre Dame, he came in, and he's coming from an injury, is my understanding. And but he threw 3 scoreless innings. He looked great. So I know that they're gonna try to see if he can start or play a bigger role. But I'm excited about seeing the staff kind of come together, and it's right. We've got Tennessee Tech tomorrow if it doesn't get rained out.
Yeah.
And then which should be cool though. It's supposed to be in Huntsville, so and I hear that ballpark's really nice. So hopefully they'll get to play it. All the Huntsville people can see the boys. And then this weekend you've got Mid Tennessee State, and then I think it's Kennesaw next week is the midweek game. So we need to win all these games, because that coming weekend we jump right into it, man, and it doesn't get any easier after that. It's every single week's a top 10 team.
Yeah, I put a video out kind of breaking down the schedule a little bit for Auburn baseball, just kind of an overarching view, nothing really, analytical about it. But that was the thing that struck me, was just how difficult SEC schedule is going to be for them. And, we say that a lot in college sports for Auburn. I mean, we play in the SEC, and in football, we, just for that purpose of argument, we play in the SEC West. Our rivals tend to be pretty good in the sports. Basketball this season, not so much, but hey, they can't be good at everything,
Georgia
right?
sucks.
Hey, and listen, here's the crazy thing too. Gymnastics, they're usually a lot better, the two of them, than they have been this season. Now it's Auburn and Florida's season in gymnastics. So it's just the year for, the orange and blue teams, I guess, in the SEC. What else stuck out to you from the Rhode Island matchup?
I just want us to win. I mean, like we got to pad the schedule as much as we can with wins because you just don't know what it's going to be. So, people can say what they want. I don't know that they haven't even won a game. Is what I think, right? Rhode Island's like they're 0 whatever. So, first off, I feel bad for them. That's got to be rough. And if they're playing Tennessee next week, good lord. But it's just about getting as many, because once we get in there, we're just going to be trying to go 500 in the SEC to get to a regional. And then the good thing about that would be you're going to be playoff ready from playing that schedule.
Right.
You're going to be good to go. So in this next week or two, I just want us to stay healthy. I know that Sonny didn't play the other day, but they say it's no big deal. It's just precautionary that they set him out. And, we've got some bats that are hot right now. Like I really like the second baseman. I want to say it's Jordan Farmer.
That's right. Yep.
He's batting right there around 300. He was going into the game Sunday, and then he got a couple of hits. And then Farquhar, he came off the bench, the shortstop, senior. He hits a home run. So hopefully these guys will stay hot. And that's the thing, is you can only play, like I said, you can only play who's on your schedule. And at least you're winning by a lot. And at least guys are getting hot, and at least guys are getting in a rhythm.
Yep. Now we have to give Wes a little bit of trouble here. He's going to pick Tennessee, but he says we'll be number 2. That's fine, Wes. I mean, why you got to do me like that, brother? That's unfortunate.
Wes, I'll challenge you: visit both campuses, hang out with both fan bases for a day, and then make your decision.
That's a great point. Yeah, because it's not just about following a team because they might be good. It's about following, the whole experience. And Auburn's experience is way, way better. I mean, what place can you go to for a baseball experience? You can watch it for free from the parking deck that overlooks the arena. That you can go out into the outfield, and they have the fence opened up now. There's obviously chain link there, but you can watch from the outfield. I think there's still some seating out there in like the back corner on the right field side as well too. That may be paid now. But there's not a bad seat in the house. You got us doing the pizza man thing the entire time. I mean, what else more do you need? Come on, man. Come on.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the thing too. We're going to surprise some people this year. I don't think this is fluky.
Yes. Me, I tend to be a little bit overly cautious, and I think that's to protect myself because I've been burned so many times.
You're a long-time Auburn fan, brother. You don't have to explain it.
I just, well, for Wes, here's what Wes needs to know. Wes, if you're going to be an Auburn fan, expect for yourself to be, your heart palpitations to be up, to have to like sit there and fret over whether you're going to lose a lead, but still ultimately win the game, which we usually do.
Georgia State.
Don't even say it, man. Don't even say that. He says, funny you say that because I'm going to watch my buddy this weekend down there. Perfect. Now you're going to change your mind after that. And I need you to report back here, Wes. I do want to go back to what Devin said earlier, and I think Russell was kind of addressing it. It says, it's nice to see the long ball come back as a strength for softball and baseball. If the pitchers become a strength, then watch out. I would say, based off of this series, I think I underestimated how much better the pitching staff could be. And I forgot that we had big names like Chase Bright there. What was the other one that Carson Skipper? The fact that he's still in there at middle relief and what I saw him do and just shut down literally after Rhode Island had a little bit of momentum in game 1. And he just came in and it was like almost it got boring because Carson Skipper was just dealing and taking care of business. Joseph Gonzalez in game 2 also did very well. He had 6.2 innings with 8 strikeouts, which were career highs for him and how long he went in the game, but also in the strikeouts amounts that he had in the game as well. And, some other names for people to keep in mind: Hayden Mullins, Parker Carlson, Tommy Sheehan. When you have 4-game series like that, you're going to see a lot of pitchers. Traditionally, you want to have, a 1, 2, and 3 starter for the weekend. Auburn feels like it's never been blessed to have that. You usually have your ace in the hole that you use maybe on the first game and the third game. It's Major League Baseball and college baseball are so different in how you operate with your roster. It frustrates me a little bit because you're like fine tuned in to how Major League Baseball does it, and then you got to get used to college baseball. But those were some of the things that stuck out to me about that. So if Sonny DeShera is the lead hitter, like he's going to be the guy that's going to be knocking the home runs if he stays healthy, who do you think the other guy is going to be that is going to be right behind him in terms of being our big hitter?
Like I said, right now I'm like a farmer because here's the thing. So the other guys, Farquhar and the other guy, his name slips my mind, and it shouldn't because I just looked into this all weekend.
A lot of names.
Yeah, but they're both upperclassmen is the point I'm making, and they're starting Farmer every day at shortstop or second base, and then they're rotating those other, and he's a sophomore, so he's just he's a really talented guy. I'm pretty sure after yesterday that he went up over 300 for the season. So and it seems like he can do it all around. Like I think he's got a couple home runs, and then he's just getting on base too. So and the guys are being paid. They're being patient at the plate. I mean, at least this weekend there was a bunch of walks.
Yep, lot of base runners, a lot of opportunities to let your big hitters take them, bring them home, and that's what it really felt like a lot. Is like every time I turned around, Auburn had someone on base. You know, there was hits in there as well, but a lot of opportunities. A couple hit batsmen as well. But really good things that I saw from baseball. But hey, Dusty, thanks for tuning in, and thank you for joining us to talk a little bit of baseball tonight.
Yes, sir. War Eagle Man.
All right, War Eagle Man. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to say this while he was here. Hopefully he'll hear this on the back end. Dusty is going to be doing a little podcast here for us this week. I'm not sure the exact date it's going to come out just yet, where he and a special guest got together and talked a little bit about the state of the program that is Auburn baseball. So stay tuned for that. Check that out when that comes out. And I meant to say that while he was on the line, but I hope he heard that one. But yes, we will look forward to that. All right, we won't stay on too much longer, again, because we're just kind of filling out doing a regular show with baseball and maybe potentially softball as well. But want to keep in mind another name for you guys, Ryan Dial. I kind of wrote down when I take my notes for these things like the best of the series, and every time I read up other publications too, just kind of follow up, make sure I didn't miss anything. They were all saying the same thing. Ryan Dial, who is traditionally our catcher, had a great hitting, especially weekend. But the interesting thing was he was used more at, the outfield position, the left field position. And that was 3 of the 4 games I think he was used in that. So it was interesting. You see that a lot in baseball, college baseball, dual position players. We've seen like a lot of times catcher and first baseman, catcher and outfield, but we've even seen a pitcher go to first base. Keegan Thompson, people remember that name. But Ryan Dial was 6 for 12 with 6 runs scored, 3 doubles, 2 home runs, 2 RBIs. And the great thing about this series was you got an opportunity to see a lot of new faces. So there were a lot of career first as an Auburn Tiger. There were a lot of, first of the seasons. So it almost, to me, just kind of getting into this season for the very first time this season, really kind of sitting down and focusing on it, that this was kind of what the program needed to get it geared up for what's going to be a tougher and tougher season going forward. Corey, we're only going to be in here for a little bit longer. You have to check out the replay, but thanks for stopping in though. We're doing baseball. Yeah, I think you were one of the ones that requested it. So there you go. Let's see here. Nice to see you informed down there in Pensacola, Dusty. The many times I've been to Pensacola, didn't get many War Eagles. Keep it up. Yes, we got to, even if we don't have a stronghold, we need people like Dusty in those areas to keep the family growing. Wes says, haven't been able to see Rhode Island play this season yet. While you watched, did anyone stand out to you? I forget the pitcher's name. For the first game for Rhode Island, he seemed to be doing all right to start off with, and then it got worse. Honestly, you didn't really have time to really focus on any of the Rhode Island players because they were getting rotated in and out, getting taken advantage of, especially, pitchers. I mean, when you're giving up 49 runs as a staff in 4 games. It's hard to really get used to them. So unfortunately, no, I'm not going to be your biggest information on Rhode Island tonight. How can you be SEC champions and not win the tournament? You be Auburn. Talking a little bit basketball there. But yeah, so that's going to be kind of what we do. And a lot of you wanted us to do some baseball and maybe throw in a little softball in there as well. We'll plan to do Monday nights as long as you guys continue to show up. And this is what you kind of like this type of content. We'll open it up for our Booster Club members a lot to call in, like Dusty, anybody else. And we might do some other nights, but keep showing up and keep being here and helping join in on the conversation. We'll keep doing this and having some baseball discussions here on the E2C network. Before we get too far out of here, though, get your last minute comments and questions in. I do want to remind you of a couple of things that you can help take part in here. One of those is our channel membership program. You can become a channel member here by hitting the join button. You can find it on your phone, but it's easier to find it just on a regular computer. Hit the join button. $1 a month is all it is. And you get your icons next to your name. You level up those icons over time. Those are Tumor's Corner toilet papers for Wes. Not that you have to join Wes, but just he's probably, as not a non-Auburn fan, like, what the heck is that? You'll understand soon, my friend. And then the emojis that you have access to as a channel member. And it's easier for me to catch up on your comments on some of our bigger streams where we get tons of them. Obviously not a huge issue tonight, but can be in some of the more busy streams. So check that out. Other links in the description. The easiest thing and the most free thing you can do is hit that like button for this type of content if you enjoyed it, and make sure you're subscribed along with hitting that notification bell so you don't miss any uploads or live streams. Can't let the night end without mentioning Bruce Pearl is the SEC Coach of the Year. Yes. Jabari, the accolades are going to keep coming for the Jabari is an All-American. Well deserved. Your buddy only got 1 inning on the mound down there. So yeah, I probably even get a chance to see your buddy, because he was not having probably a great time there, but nobody really was. Let's see here. Kyle, will you be doing an A-Day stream? In what way? Do you mean like the game actually? I'm not allowed to. Live show. I will be at the game. Yes. I will say this. We'll do a little bit of housekeeping here. I want to put together, especially for the Booster Club members, maybe a get together in town. And all it would be is like we meet here, for 30 minutes, an hour, whatever, and just say hello, shake hands, all that kind of stuff. Put faces to names, all that kind of, all those type of things. We'll do something like that at the very least. But we will do, a post 8-day live stream, maybe from campus, things like that. So I'm still getting my 8-day game plan together, but we will be there. We will be covering it, and we will be doing stuff after that. Do you only go live on Monday? No, Wes. So we go live every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time, unless, I have a scheduling conflict or things like that. Anybody can call in on Wednesday nights. Open light tonight. It was just for our Booster Club members. It's a separate thing from the channel membership, which we talked about. A lot of you do both of those. But that is open to anybody. And then we have, we were doing post-game shows after basketball games, so usually right after them, again, unless we have a scheduling conflict. You mean like a recap of what I see for A-Day? Yes, that will come. So I will answer this for you, Corey. If there's something Auburn to talk about, I'm going to recap it. I always plan to do that for you guys. You seem to enjoy it. So, but as has been the case, I try to tailor my content here on this channel around what you guys want. You ask for a baseball show, we're going to try it as long as people keep showing up. So this is kind of the heart behind who we are and what we do. Is it's more about you, the fans, than analysis and things like that. And I said 8-day will be D Davis Day. Oh, we'll see, Dusty. We shall see. We shall definitely see. But hey, thank you guys so much for being here on this live stream. It was great to see some familiar faces, some new names, and we'll be back next Monday, barring any unforeseen circumstances, to talk about the Middle Tennessee State series, the Tennessee Tech game. So hopefully you can join us there. If we can't see you on Monday, make sure you're here Wednesday. Open mic live stream. We'll probably talk a lot of football. Well, actually, we'll probably be talking mainly basketball still, but anything is fair game within the Auburn family spectrum. I appreciate each and every one of you for being here and being a part of our little family within the Auburn family. And until I talk to you guys again,